Okay, so now we're going to be looking at solving multi-step equations again, but this time we're going to be focusing in on needing to do the distributive property before we even get into the process of solving. Remember, if you look at this question here, we always look to simplify or combine like terms before we start the question. Okay, so let me scan the problem after I draw my wall or barrier. Can I simplify anything here or combine or blend anything? No, but we do see an issue here. I have a number touching parentheses, and when this happens, I actually need to address this by performing something we learned in 6th grade called the distributive property. Okay, so what we want to do here is when you have a number touching parentheses, it means to multiply. But in this case, it needs to be multiplied by not just the 2x, but also to the 4. So think of it like this. We need to distribute presents to both of our numbers. Okay, we need to multiply 3 times 2x and 3 times negative 4. All right, so let's get ready to do that. First, I want to rewrite the 4x so I don't forget to bring it down. Now let's tackle this. 3 times 2x is going to be 6x. 3 times negative 4, again, if you struggle with multiplying and dividing positives and negatives, use the triangle. You have a positive times a negative. So go over to the triangle and cover up the positive times the negative, and you're going to get a negative. So 3 times 4 is 12. Now bring down your equal sign and your 16x. So after we distributed, now let's look, can we combine or blend any like terms on the left side? Here we see we have 4x's and another 6x's on the left. So remember, if they're on the same side, I can just blend them or combine them to get 10x's. Let's rewrite or bring down everything else. Okay, now this is a situation again where we need to be careful. Okay, we need to be careful here. So if we move the 16x over to the left side, we're going to have nothing on the right. So we'll essentially be eliminating an entire side, which in the last video we discussed not doing this because you don't want to eliminate an entire side. That's not the best way to do it. So what we can do here is look on the other side, and we want to move the 10x to be with the 16x. So in order to do that, we have to perform the opposite or the inverse. So this is a positive 10x. If there's no sign in front, it's always understood to be positive. So the opposite would be a negative 10x. And remember, what I do to one side of the wall or equal sign, I have to do the same thing on the other side to keep it balanced or equal. Now, opposites always cancel because they equal 0. Now let's bring everything else down. Don't forget the negative is with the 12 here. Okay, that will change your answer. Equals, and 16x minus 10x is just going to be 6x. And of course, the last step that we take here is going to be division. I want to get x by itself, but the 6 is in the way. So we need to divide both sides to keep it balanced by 6. Remember, when we divide, we do not change the sign. We just divide by whatever the coefficient is. So negative 12 divided by a positive 6. Again, go to your triangle. You have a negative divided by a positive. Cover up those two, and we're left with a negative. And then 12 divided by 6 is 2 equals, and we have x. So x equals negative 2, or negative 2 equals x, same thing. All right. So now we're going to look at a similar question, another distribution question, a little bit more complex. So let's take a look at number 2. We have negative x equals 9 times the quantity. Whenever you see that, it means times the quantity, x minus 10. Okay, so we always begin by drawing our wall to separate the left side from the right side. Now let's scan through the problem and see if we should simplify this or if we can combine any like terms. On the left side, I don't see anything I can combine. On the right side, I can't combine anything yet because I'm dealing with parentheses again, which means you should be thinking, when you see parentheses, that you need to perform that property called the distributive property. We need to distribute the 9, meaning multiply the 9 by both the x and the 10. Okay, before we do that, I just want to make one note. It's always a good idea, whenever you don't have a coefficient, to write one in. Okay, if there's no number or coefficient in front of the x, put a 1 there. Same thing on the other side. So now let's begin the problem. I'm not going to do anything to the left side, so let's just rewrite the negative 1x, the equal sign. Now we're going to distribute.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Sure.
Alright, now we're going to distribute the 9 times the 1x, multiply, and we get 9x. And then 9 times the 10, and we get negative 90. The reason why it's negative 90 is because you have a positive 9 times a negative 10, that's a negative 90. So now again, we have to be careful here, because if I move the negative 1x over here because it's smaller, I'm going to eliminate this entire side and have 0 here. Remember, that's not the best practice. So I don't want to move the negative 1x to the right side, because then I'll have 0 here. I'll have nothing. Okay, so the best practice would be to take the 9x and move it over to the other side where the negative 1x is. So the opposite of a positive 9x is a negative 9x. And remember, what I do to one side, I must do to the other side. And I'm going to cancel these out because opposites always cancel because they equal 0. Now let's bring everything else down that we have left. We have a negative 90 left. Do not forget to bring down the negative with the 90. Now here, I have an integer question. Same sign or different? Here the signs are the same, so the rule states if the signs are the same, I add the two numbers and I keep the sign the same. Remember, the last step when we're solving equations to finish getting x by itself is to divide. And remember, whenever we divide, we never change the coefficient or the number in front of the x. We always divide by that exact number. And when I divide one side, I must divide the other by the same thing to keep it balanced. These will cancel, and then I'm left with x equals. And again, if you struggle with multiplying and dividing positive and negative numbers, take a look. We have a negative divided by a negative. So let's go to the triangle and cover up our two negatives. And we're left with a positive. And then zeros can cancel. 9 divided by 1 or 90 divided by 10 is 9. So our answer is x equals positive 9. Thank you, and stay tuned for another episode.